One final time for Newcastle United here at Goodison Park in the Premier League. There's been some unbelievable games here down the years, but the last 20 Newcastle have only won 3, which is quite a surprising statistic. I think you look at this game and Newcastle really do need to address their away form. They've been unconvincing on the road. Yes, they beat Wolves, yes, they picked up a point against Bournemouth, but that seemed to be very difficult. And that Fulham game, well, the least said about that, the better. Today they've got to go and show on that pitch one final time in a top flight fixture that they can live with this atmosphere. They couldn't last season, Everton winning 3-0, but Newcastle, they'll fancy it's a great day down here on Merseyside. The sun is shining, Newcastle fans will be giving their team everything from the first whistle, and I think it's going to be a proper occasion. 5:30 kickoff in front of TV cameras. Should be a great game, but ultimately for Newcastle it's all about the result. I asked Eddie Howe if he would be emotional coming back to Goodison Park one last time yesterday. He didn't really bite on that. I think he's just desperate to get the 3 points, and I'm sure if Newcastle can put the same effort levels in they did against Man City, they've got every chance. So one last time here for Newcastle United, Goodison Park. We're just having a look around this famous old stadium, one of the iconic grounds in English football, let alone the Premier League. Obviously Newcastle have played here many times, mixed results, lots of emotions. We've seen last minute equalisers, last minute winners, great goals, and I think this today will hopefully be a fitting finale for Newcastle here, but I'm sure Everton will have something to say about that. I think every game for them is almost like a cup final. It's going to be full of emotion because they know that next season they're going to be in a completely new home. They want it to be in the Premier League and they've got a battle on their hands to do that, so that would make today an opportunity for Newcastle to get 3 points. Last season, the least said about that one the better. Newcastle completely rolled over 3-0 and Jordan Pickford was having a complete field day that day, allowed to taunt the players, taunt the fans, and Newcastle really disappointing. So they've got a few wrongs to put right here today, and hopefully it'll be a fitting send-off for Newcastle here at Goodison Park.
The opposition though today, someone who can tell us a bit more about what we can expect from Newcastle, Lee Ryder, who is from the chief Newcastle United writer, the Chronicle. Oh, don't boo! It's like a pantomime in here today. Welcome, Lee, to the fan zone. First of all, sort of what's the atmosphere in the Newcastle camp right now? Because that game against City and that result must have, been seen as a massive positive.
Yeah, it was. That was a Newcastle fans booing us, by the way, when I come on. So last week, Man City, great performance. Newcastle got to build on it, but away from home, they've been a bit rough. Scraped the win against Wolves, great goal from Harvey Barnes, and got the 1-1 draw at Bournemouth, but at Fulham they were pretty awful. They've got to go and rectify that tonight.
Okay, what's been said then about this particular fixture before? I was watching a bit of Eddie Howe's press conference yesterday and he actually said it's going to be quite tough.
Yeah, I asked him if he would be emotional coming to Everton, because I think he's got a couple of links. He admired the old Everton team, but he said he's going to have to try and keep a lid on all that. He knows it's an important game today. Newcastle fans travelling in force, as you know, so hopefully Newcastle can lift the game and sign off here with a good result, but it won't be easy.
Yeah, as you say, this could be, depending on cup draws and things, Newcastle's final trip to Goodison as well. Is this a stadium you enjoy coming to?
Yeah, I mean it's a typical old-fashioned football ground. The streets all tight around it. It's a proper football club. Good fans, in my opinion. We've shared some good players down the years. Duncan Ferguson, Gary Speed. So there's a lot of Newcastle Everton connections. I enjoy my time here, and hopefully it's a great game today.
Well, you're always very welcome. Somebody who I expect to get maybe not the best of receptions today is Anthony Gordon. But what he's done at Newcastle can't be debated, can it? Is he one of the first names on the team sheet now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, be careful.
How will he cope as well today because of the atmosphere around him?
Well, he seems a very cool and composed figure. I think Newcastle We're delighted with him last season, obviously getting into the England squad. Didn't play for some reason in the summer at the Euros, but I'm sure he'll relish coming back here today. He's a Liverpool lad, so hopefully to go a little bit easy on him, I'm sure. But yeah, hopefully he can have a great day here today as well.
I have a feeling the crowd might not go easy on him today. How has he bounced back though from that? Because I think a lot of people, as you say, were quite surprised at the lack of England time, because I think everyone at one point was screaming for him to either come off the bench or at least have a go at starting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's kept his nerve for the penalty last week against Man City. He scored at Bournemouth. He's had a decent start to the season, and you know, he's now a regular in the England squad, so good for him on that score. But I think really he's got a little bit of pressure on him, because obviously Alexander Isak is out injured at the minute, so he's got to play up front, which he did a few times for Everton. But look, he seems to be able to handle the pressure these days, so good luck to him.
We will see today then, won't we? This is going to be big pressure for him. Before I let you go, what's the expectation of Newcastle this season? Because we've seen, you know, being in Europe and then maybe struggled a bit last season as a result of that, probably with the squad. What's the aim this season?
Well, it has to be getting back into the Champions League, in my opinion. Last season was a disappointment in the end. Didn't even scrape into the Europa Conference League. But I suppose that shows you how far Newcastle have come in a short space of time, that we're disappointed with that. Champions League is got to be the minimum, I think, this season, but hopefully they can go one better and finally win something.
Fantastic. It is lovely to have you in the fan zone today. Lee Ryder, Chief Newcastle United reporter for the Chronicle. That's right, isn't it?
That's right, yeah.
You enjoy your stay at Goodison today?
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
A night of missed chances for Newcastle United, not least Anthony Gordon's penalty in the first half. But it has to be said, Gordon didn't disappear after that penalty miss. He was probably Newcastle's best player, always on the ball, always pushing, always trying to create, and he nearly got one of his teammates in Bruno in the second half, who shot over, and he got in himself, also blazing over at the Park end. But sadly Newcastle just could not find that winner. They created 14 chances. They probably just edged it here, but it was always sort of on a tightrope, and Newcastle United really will leave here disappointed. I think the fact that the Everton fans were celebrating at the final whistle, that it ended 0-0, shows you that they see this as a better point than Newcastle. But ultimately, again, for Newcastle, their away form continues to be questionable. Did they do enough here to win tonight? Hard to say. I think really they've got to start taking these chances, or they're going to come back to haunt them. Newcastle leave here with that point, and yeah, it keeps the unbeaten run going, but ultimately I think Eddie Howe will feel a little bit deflated after that one tonight.